Hello, I'm Nathan, and this is BTN. Coming up in today's show, we take you to New York to see how people mark the 15th anniversary of the September 11 terrorist attacks. Back in Australia, it's now swooping season, so we interviewed a magpie to find out why they do it. And meet one of Australia's youngest Paralympic athletes and the classmates that'll be cheering her on. Stay with us for all that, but first today to our top story. Should overseas groups be allowed to donate money to Australian politicians? That's the question many were asking last week after Labor Senator Sam Dastyari allowed a Chinese company to pay a big bill for him. He says the company expected nothing in return, but others say the payment is not okay. Here's more.
If you were to help someone out, would you expect anything in return?
If they would give me money, I would feel like I would need to give them their money back, because I don't feel like it would be good for me to take someone else's money for my advantage.
I don't really expect anything in return. Like, if I lent them a book, I wouldn't expect them to lend me something of theirs. But if I lent them some money, they might want to pay me back.
I think if I did something for someone else, they should do something for me back. So if I got a bit of a knock playing footy, getting tackled, if they help me out, I'd do the same for them if they were in the same position.
According to these kids, expecting something in return for a bit of help isn't always a given. But what if you gave someone more than $1,000? Back in 2014, Labor Senator Sam Dastyari asked for help to pay a $1,600 travel bill from a company with links to China. He didn't break any rules or laws by doing it, but it's upset some people who say it's not a good look for a foreign company to hand out money to Aussie politicians, because they might expect the favour to be repaid in some way. Sam Dastyari says that didn't happen, but in the end he decided to resign anyway.
And what I did was within the rules, but it was wrong. I fell short of the duty I owe to the people I'm so proud to represent.
But the issue still hasn't gone away. Lots of people from all sides of politics are now talking about whether our whole political donation system needs a shake-up. Aussie companies, organisations and individuals donate money to political parties all the time, either because they support the party's views or hope they'll make decisions that will benefit them. Lots of people say it's just how things work, and it gives voters and organisations a say in our political system. And political parties say that money is really important, because it helps pay for things like marketing, polling, research and ads. But sometimes people and companies from outside of Australia donate too, and that's where things get a lot more controversial. Australia is one of only a handful of countries, along with places like Uganda, Iraq and Jamaica, that let foreign companies donate to political parties. These donations add up to millions of dollars every year. Some people say they're okay because they help fund our political parties, but others don't like the idea that another country could be handing out money in the hope of influencing how Australia is run. Now, some politicians are talking about banning them. But what would you do?
I don't think other countries should be allowed to donate, because I don't think they should really have a say in Australian politics.
I think they should be allowed to, because it would definitely help our country as well, and we could also help them with other things if they donated quite a large amount of money.
It's kind of a good thing if it can help our country, but then it's also a bad thing because they might expect us to give them something back.
Got a question about political donations? Ask me live on Friday during Ask a Reporter. Just head to our website for all the details.
And that issue will also be our poll this week. Let us know what you think on our website. A new report from UNICEF has found 50 million kids around the world have left their homes because of war or violence, or just in search of a better life. More than 10 million of those are refugees who have had to leave because their homes are no longer safe. All up, more than half of the world's refugees are now kids, and UNICEF says something has to be done.
They've often escaped a horrendous situation in their home country, whether it's conflict in Syria or whether it's poverty or gang violence in Central America.
For the first time ever, the Northern Territory government will have more women than men in its cabinet. 5 of the top 8 jobs in the new Labor government have gone to women. Chief Minister Michael Gunner says the new cabinet better reflects the diversity and life experience of Territorians. And giant pandas are no longer an endangered species. That's according to the special organisation that keeps an eye on threatened species. It found that thanks to breeding programs and habitat protection, pandas are doing a lot better now than in the past. Way to go, pandas! 15 years ago, on the morning of September the 11th, a terrible event in America changed the world forever. Next, we take a look back at the World Trade Center attacks to find out what happened then and in the 15 years since.
I remember waking up and having breakfast and my parents turned the TV on. We don't usually watch TV in the morning, so that was a bit of a strange thing to happen. And yeah, just remember seeing it on there.
I just remember seeing all this smoke and fire, and it was really shocking to see that as a child. And I was quite upset by it.
I didn't really understand why somebody would want to hurt so many people, so that confused me.
I just remember Mum listening quite intently on the radio, and then we got dropped off to school, and I guess everything was different.
September 11, 2001 is a day many people will never forget, even if they were kids living thousands of miles away from here, New York City. In the morning, while people arrived for work and tourists gathered to see the famous sights, extremists working for a terrorist group hijacked planes and flew them into the 2 massive World Trade Center buildings, eventually causing this to happen. Another target was the American Defense Headquarters known as the Pentagon in Virginia. And a final plane was believed to be heading for America's capital, Washington, D.C., before passengers fought back and caused the plane to crash. By the end of that horrible day, nearly 3,000 people had died and thousands more were injured. It was an attack designed to shock the world and create fear. While Americans mourned, the US government quickly turned to finding those responsible and holding them to account.
These acts shatter steel, but they cannot dent the steel of American resolve.
Investigations showed that known terrorist Osama bin Laden and his group Al-Qaeda were behind the attacks. So America's next move was to target their base in the Middle Eastern country of Afghanistan.
Right, at 20!
US soldiers and troops from allied countries like Australia were sent there as the war in Afghanistan was declared. Security in America and even here in Australia also changed dramatically after the attacks. Before September 11, American airline passengers could sometimes take pocket knives on flights, and kids could visit the plane's cockpit. Now the doors are locked and bulletproofed. In Australia, the government started warning us of the possibility of a similar attack happening here.
Be alert, but not alarmed. Together, let's look out for Australia.
Of course, nothing on the scale of 9/11 ever did happen here, but some things like heightened security still remain. The war in Afghanistan also carried on for many years, becoming the longest war in America's history. It was only in 2014 that President Barack Obama announced the US would withdraw nearly all its troops from Afghanistan, and Australia did the same. In the 15 years that have passed since 9/11, New York has built a new World Trade Center, along with a museum and 2 huge memorials on the exact spot where the buildings stood. And every year, on the anniversary of 9/11, people gather here to remember one of the darkest days in America's history
Michael, Vernon,
and to hope for brighter days ahead.
Ruth, Ellen, Kettler, Boris, Caleb.
It's now spring in Australia when trees turn green and the weather finally warms up again, unless you're watching this from up north, that is. But spring is also when some very aggressive black and white birds decide to randomly swoop kids everywhere. But why do magpies do it? And what can you do to protect yourself? Here's the answers.
So yes, I saw this human and I was like, this is my house, and boom! Yeah, that'll teach him. And don't come back! Ha ha ha! Caw!
So I'm pretty sure that's exactly what magpies are thinking when they do things like this, or this, or this. Yes, it's magpie season once again, when black and white birds lurk up high, waiting to swoop.
They're a little bit scary, the magpies.
This magpie just came over us and it went like zoom over our heads.
I got swooped by a magpie just the other day riding to school when I rode under where the magpie was living, and it obviously didn't like that.
It's kind of scary in a way because you don't expect it and then they come so fast over the top of you.
It's just so unexpected and I never know when it's going to happen.
So why do you do it?
Are you kidding me? They want to help my little baby magpies. Who would do that? What? Animals! Animals!
Spring is the time of year when baby magpies start hatching. And it's thought adult magpies, particularly daddy magpies, are a little protective of their chicks, and they must worry that us two-legged predators are trying to eat them or something.
Crash! Pow! I'll tear them apart!
Yeah, anyway. Magpie season usually lasts for about 6 weeks, so if you spend a lot of time outside, you should probably be on the lookout around now for an angry magpie or two. But while they're just trying to protect their territory and drive annoying baby bird eaters away, a swooping magpie can be really dangerous. People have reported being cut and bruised or even suffering really serious eye injuries. So what can you do about it? Well, experts say one of the best ways to avoid being attacked is to stay away from dangerous locations entirely.
They're coming! Ah!
That's what this website was designed to help with. People use it to record the locations of any sneaky swoopers so other users know where to keep away from. But if you can't avoid them, apparently dressing and acting weirdly, like really weirdly, with like freaky masks and stuff, can help discourage attacks.
Yeah, that's terrifying.
Putting cable ties on your bike helmet can help too, as can drawing or sticking eyes on the back of your helmet, or just generally doing things that will protect you, like wearing a hat, sunglasses, and getting off your bike if you're riding. Alternatively, you could just stay indoors and read a book or something. But if you ever feel like you're being targeted more than other people, you might be right. A Queensland study found magpies can recognise faces and remember who they've encountered before.
Hey you! Get out of here!
What's your problem with that guy?
Him? Oh, I just hate him. He's the worst. Caw-caw!
Anyway, while it might be annoying, at least it's only a temporary problem. Until this time next year, anyway.
Time for today's quiz. How fast can magpies swoop? Is it 12 k's an hour, 32 k's an hour, or 92 k's an hour? The answer, 32 k's an hour. The 13th of September would have been Roald Dahl's 100th birthday. The British writer is still one of the most successful kids authors in history, with 17 best-selling titles to his name. But there is a lot more to his story than just his stories. Take a look.
And that is where our story begins.
They're stories where magnificent, magical things can happen, often to wonderfully ordinary people.
It's a golden ticket.
They come alive on the big screen and on the stage. But they all started right here on the pages of books by Roald Dahl, which have been read by millions of kids and adults all around the world. Shh, sorry.
My favourite Roald Dahl book is Matilda.
I really like the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory book.
The BFG, because I think it's really original and it's one of the first books my dad read to me.
Little Roald was born on the 13th of September 1916. As a kid, he wasn't particularly known for his writing, but many of his childhood experiences came to inspire his stories years later. For instance, a chocolate maker used to taste test their new products at Roald's school, and he used to dream of inventing a new chocolate bar. Sound familiar? But before becoming an author, Roald Dahl was actually a fighter pilot in World War II, and later a spy for MI6, working alongside Ian Fleming, the man who created James Bond.
Oh, hello, Ian. Hello, Roald.
It wasn't until 1943 that Dahl put pencil to his favourite yellow paper and published his first kids' book, The Gremlins, a tale of naughty creatures that cause mechanical problems on planes. Dahl went on to write 16 other kids' books, selling more than 200 million copies worldwide.
Try some more. The strawberries taste like strawberries. The snozberries taste like snozberries.
Snozberries? Who ever heard of a snozberry?
One of the best ways to spot a Roald Dahl story is by its use of unusual words like...
Scrumdiddlyunctious.
Flushbunking.
Butt-mugged.
Hornswoggler.
Fizz-whizzing.
So I'll read you something.
While writing, Dahl loved to invent new words with new meanings. He said playing with language, or gobblefunk as he called it, was a good way to make sure his readers wouldn't get bored. Over the years, he created more than 500 words and character names, like Quogwinkles, which are strange space aliens, Trogglehumper, which is a terrible dream, and Snozcumber, a gruesome vegetable found only in giant country. But even without knowing exactly what something like a snozwanger is, it's a deadly three-footed creature that preys on Oompa Loompas, by the way, kids still can't get enough of the magical world of Roald Dahl.
I think they're really original.
His creativity with words, it's all the magic and that it probably won't happen in real life to anyone.
All the characters are very interesting in all their different adventures. His made-up words and how entertaining the books are to read, and the pictures are quite nice as well.
Have you sent in your artwork for the BTN Welcome Book yet? All it takes is one A4 piece of paper and some creativity to help say welcome to thousands of refugee and migrant kids coming to Australia to live. Here's just some of the hundreds of artworks we've already received, but yours doesn't have to look like this. You can do anything. Just make sure it's original and personal. All the important info about this project is on our website, so please take a look and then get drawing. Submissions close on the 23rd of September.
The Paralympics kicked off in Rio last week with a pretty specky fireworks display. Wheelchair basketballer Brad Ness led out the Aussie team. He's competing at his 5th Paralympics. So far, Australia's picked up a bunch of medals, including Katie Kelly's gold in the women's triathlon for visually impaired athletes. Meanwhile, Australia's most experienced Paralympian has retired after 44 years of competition. Shooter Libby Kosmala is the oldest of all 4,300 athletes in Rio and has competed at 12 Paralympic Games, winning 9 gold medals in the process. Stan Wawrinka has won his first ever US Open title. He faced off against Novak Djokovic in the final and was in perfect form, while Djokovic struggled with some injuries. In the women's, Angelique Kerber took the top prize, beating Karolina Pliskova over the weekend. The win lifts Kerber to the top of the world rankings for the first time. The Wallabies have broken their 6-test losing streak with a win over the Springboks. South Africa scored the first 2 tries, but the Aussies came back and ended up winning 23 points to 17. And some of Barcelona's top soccer players took on a different sort of challenge this week. They went up against the Spanish blind football team to help them get ready for the Paralympics. The Barca players were blindfolded and had to learn how to use a different ball that makes noise so you can hear where it is. The game was organised by UNICEF to encourage kids of all abilities to give sport a go.
As you just saw there, the Paralympics are now underway, so we thought it would be a great time to introduce you to one of the youngest members of the Australian team. Her name is Isis, and shortly she'll be competing on the track in Rio. Take a look.
Imagine picking up a new sport and after just 2 years being crowned the world champ.
It's hot for Australia here at Leipzig. Holter's going very strongly. It's going to be very fast. 28.58, and that looks to be a new world record. Isis Holt at the age of 14 is a world champion.
Last year, Isis Holt took the sprinting world by storm at the IPC International Athletics Championships in Qatar.
13.63 is a massive world record.
Not only did she win gold in the 100 and 200 metres, she also broke the world record in both events.
Yeah, I think the experience was amazing, and being able to go overseas on an Australian team was even better. You couldn't ask for better than that, really.
It was a huge moment for the Aussie.
After I competed, I had so many messages from so many people via email, my phone, through like social media, and that was one of the best bits.
Since then, Isis has been training hard for the Paralympics in Rio.
It's really busy. There's something on every day, athletics-wise, on top of school and homework and managing all of that. It's been pretty crazy.
But she's had plenty of support from the people around her. And a lot of that support comes from Isis's classmates back home.
She's just so amazing and so inspirational, and she comes into class and everyone just loves her and is so proud of her.
She focuses on her studies, she's got her extracurricular with school athletics, but then you realise, oh, she's a world record holder, and that's something that's such an amazing thing, even if it's getting up 1 o'clock in the morning. But yeah, I'm really excited to watch her.
Isis has cerebral palsy, which is a disability that affects her movement and posture. It's a pretty complex disease that can affect people in different ways. So, at tournaments like the Paralympics, athletes are split up into separate categories.
I'm classified as a T35, which means that I have cerebral palsy in both sides of my body, mainly in my left, a little bit in my right. So the classifications sort of depend on who you race against.
And in Rio, Isis will be competing in that category in the 100 metres, 200 metres and 4x100 metre relay.
So excited, I couldn't be more looking forward to it than I am, and I think it'll be an incredible experience.
Isis is hoping she can smash both of her world records. But no matter what happens, she'll be able to hit the racetrack knowing all of her schoolmates back home are cheering her on.
And that's it for today, but there's always more to see on our website. You can find it at abc.net.au/btn. Stay well and bye for now.